8 years ago, I broke the heart of the boy who loved me entirely. I ruined us, deliberately and irreversibly. Now, after 8 years abroad, Liam Hayes was finally coming home. And he wasn't coming back alone. His fiancée was right beside him, ready to meet his family, ready to step into the life I'd once thought was mine. On the exact same day, the hospital handed me my final verdict. The cancer had won. No more treatments, no more trials, no more hope. They sent me home with nothing but a little borrowed time and a death sentence hanging over my head. I was just being helped into my wheelchair by my mom when Liam's car pulled up. His gaze locked on me instantly, and a cold, mocking smile tugged at his lips, every inch of his tone dripping with unmasked contempt. 8 years, he said flatly. And this is what you've become? You can't even walk on your own 2 feet now? I tugged the sleeve of my puffy coat down lower, covering the faint, clustered needle marks littering the back of my hands from years of endless hospital stays. It's nothing, I said softly, voice empty. Just a bad fall. A broken bone, that's all. Liam let out a sharp, bitter laugh, devoid of any warmth. If that's truly the case, he drawled, I'm getting married soon. Why don't you fill in as my fiancé's bridesmaid? I smiled, the ache in my chest sharp and suffocating, but I let none of it show. No, thank you. I'm planning to leave town soon. Somewhere far away. I patted my mom's hand gently, a silent plea. She wheeled me back inside, away from the boy who used to be my whole world. I'd barely settled into bed, my body drained and fragile, when Margaret Hayes knocked on our front door. She stood in the doorway for a long, heavy moment, her face flushed with shame, like she'd rehearsed this speech 100 times and still couldn't bring herself to say the words. Claire, she finally began, voice tight with guilt, I know I have no right to ask this of you, but I need a favor, a huge one. I didn't need her to finish. I already knew. It was the exact same plea she'd come to me with 8 years ago. I still remembered that day crystal clear. Fresh off my cancer diagnosis, terrified and sobbing, still reeling from the news that my body was failing me, Margaret had burst into my hospital room in a panic. Liam had just gotten accepted into a prestigious overseas graduate program, his once-in-a-lifetime shot at a future far from our small town. On her knees beside my hospital bed, she'd begged me not to drag him down with my illness. She'd pleaded that Liam would throw everything away to stay and take care of me if he found out the truth. We'd loved each other our entire lives, grown up side by side, inseparable. But she'd begged me to set him free, to break his heart so he'd leave and never look back. She'd planned the whole thing for me, found a guy to stage a fake affair, told me exactly what to do, pretend to kiss him where Liam could see, make Liam believe I'd cheated, that I'd never loved him enough to wait. I'd followed every word. Right after learning I was dying, I hadn't scheduled more tests or started treatment. I'd put on the cruelest, coldest version of myself, faked betrayal, forced Liam to hate me, and sent him overseas with nothing but hatred in his heart. Now, 8 years later, Margaret's eyes glistened with guilt as she repeated her selfish request. Claire, you have to understand, I had no choice. Liam's fiancée is his classmate from grad school all the way through his doctorate. They're perfect for each other. I can't let your past ruin his perfect life and this marriage. Her voice shook with genuine fear. You know how he was about you. He worshipped you as a kid. If he ever finds out the truth of what happened 8 years ago, I'm terrified he'll drop everything again. For you. So please, stay away from him. You don't have much time left. Anyway, you shouldn't be going out, shouldn't be crossing paths with him at all. The second her cold words landed, my mom snapped. She grabbed a pack of adult diapers from the bedside table and slammed it down hard enough to rattle the entire mattress, her rage boiling over instantly. I quickly tugged her sleeve, my voice soft and placating. Mom, don't. It's okay. It took several long seconds for my mom to rein in her anger. When the room quieted again, I looked straight at Margaret, calm and unwavering. I promise I'll never tell Liam the truth about 8 years ago, but I can't promise to stay away from him. I couldn't do it. Through 8 years of brutal surgeries, endless chemo sessions, and countless sleepless nights staring up at sterile hospital ceilings, I had never stopped missing Liam Hayes. Not for a single day. On the worst chemo days, when the pain and nausea were too brutal to bear, I'd clutch our old Polaroid until my fingers cramped tight. That worn, faded photo was the only thing that kept me from giving up entirely, the only anchor I had through years of agony. I'd endured countless surgeries, small, routine procedures and life-threatening operations that left my mom's hands shaking as she signed my consent forms. Time and again, I'd been rushed to the ICU, teetering on the edge of death, barely clinging to life. Every single time, my mom stayed by my bed, screaming my name until her voice went hoarse, begging me to hold on. You promised you'd survive, she'd cry. You said you'd get better, go overseas, find Liam, and explain everything yourself. You promised we'd go look for him together. Don't break that promise. It was her voice, calling Liam's name over and over, that pulled me back from death's door countless times. But in the end, my body lost the fight. Liam had built a brand new life now, a good life, a life without me. He was engaged, about to start a future that didn't include my mistakes, my illness, or my broken heart. Still, for the little time I had left, I was selfish. I wanted to be near him just a little longer. That's why I'd left the hospital the second I heard he was home, even when the doctors made it clear going home meant no recovery. It only meant waiting for the end. I never expected Liam to show up at my door mere minutes after his mom left. I woke from a shallow, exhausted sleep to the sound of his voice outside my bedroom. For a split second, I thought I was dreaming, haunted by 8 years of longing. 8 years ago, Liam had hated me fiercely, unconditionally. He'd camped outside my house for 3 days and 3 nights, desperate to confront me, to demand why I'd thrown our love away. When I'd sobbed and lied that I didn't love him anymore, he'd punched through a stairwell window in his rage. He'd never laid a hand on me, but all his tenderness died that day. After that, he avoided me like a plague, turned the other way in hallways, refused to pass my street, stopped visiting the corner store we'd frequented together as kids. The mention of my name alone turned his face cold with disgust. Don't talk about Claire, he'd snap. I can't stand her. On the day he left for the airport, I'd stood in the pouring rain just to catch one last look at him. When he saw me, he only sneered. He'd tossed our matching promise rings and our photo-filled phone at my feet. The screen shattered on the wet pavement, and he'd walked away without a single backward glance. So why was he here now? Through the crack in my bedroom door, I got my answer. Liam was holding holding his fiancée's hand, his fingers laced tight with hers. "Mrs. Winters," he said, his tone flat, controlled, and completely detached. "Are you still holding a grudge over what happened 8 years ago? Is that why you won't let Claire help us pick our wedding planner and rings? I haven't loved Claire in years. I'm completely over it. We grew up together. We can be civil, even if we weren't meant to be lovers." The woman beside him, Vanessa, smiled sweetly, her tone soft but sharp around the edges. "Mrs. Winters, Liam's told me everything about him and Claire. She made a mistake when they were young and reckless, but youth's full of poor choices. I'm sure Liam had his own faults too. Honestly, I'm grateful for what happened. If Claire hadn't let him go all those years ago, I never would have met him. There's no need to hold on to the past." She tilted her head, her polite smile never faltering. "I actually suggested asking Claire for help. We've been overseas for 8 years, and we don't know the local vendors at all. Leaving the wedding planning to the older generation, well, their taste can be a little difficult to work with. 8 years ago, right after my diagnosis, my only wish had been for Liam to forget me and live a happy, unburdened life. But now, hearing him dismiss our entire relationship as a trivial youthful mistake, hearing him talk about me like I was nothing more than a faded chapter he'd long closed, a sharp, twisting pain knotted deep in my ribs. He told Vanessa every detail of us. No secrets, no lingering attachments. It should have been proof he'd fully moved on, but it only hurt worse. My mom could no longer stomach Vanessa's passive-aggressive jabs, every polite word laced with a hidden knife, every subtle dig at my so-called betrayal. Rage burned bright in her eyes, her lips trembling with anger as she snapped at Liam. "You and your mother are exactly the same. Shameless, both of you." My chest tightened sharply. I propped myself up weakly on my pillows and called out to her, "Mom, help me into the wheelchair. I'll handle this myself." My mom stormed into the room, still seething. I wrapped my arms gently around her waist and whispered, "Please, let me settle this last regret." Her eyes welled with tears, but she nodded. She fixed my wig, dabbed a little lipstick on my pale lips, helped me slip on my coat, and wheeled me outside to face them. The second I appeared, Liam's face twisted with disapproval. "You're still this dramatic?" he said coldly. "It's just a broken bone. Your mom's getting older, and you still make her wait on you hand and foot?" I met his disgusted stare with a faint, hollow smile. "The doctor said the fracture is severe. I can't put any weight on it right now." Vanessa quickly stepped in with an apologetic smile, her tone sickly sweet and possessive. "Don't take it personally, Claire. Living abroad for so long made Liam really blunt. He's only ever soft with me." I dropped my gaze, swallowing the bitter ache in my throat. It was true Liam was cold and unyielding to everyone else, but he'd never been cold to me. Not once, not before everything broke. I pushed the memory down and looked up at Vanessa calmly. "If you truly need my help picking out wedding arrangements, I'll go with you." Vanessa's smile bloomed, bright and satisfied. They exchanged a few more polite words with me before leaving. That night, my phone rang. It was Liam. He confirmed our appointment for 10 the next morning. His voice low and familiar over the line, the same voice I'd fallen asleep listening to every night 8 years ago, the voice that had once been my safest place in the world. My fingers tightened around the phone. Part of me ached greedily for this small, fleeting connection. Another part of me was terrified of how much he still owned my heart. But before I could linger in the memory, a soft, sleepy female voice drifted through the line. "Liam, come dry my hair for me." I jolted back to harsh reality. "Okay," I whispered quickly. Liam hung up immediately. I sat in the quiet dark, listening to the empty dial tone until it faded away. Only then did the tears fall, silent and endless. I'd prepared for this, known he belonged to someone else, but hearing it, feeling it, still shattered me. The next morning, I pushed through overwhelming fatigue and had my mom wheel me downstairs at 9:30, nervous and desperate for one more glimpse of him. I waited until noon. Liam never showed. I called him. He sent the call straight to voicemail. My mom begged me repeatedly to come back inside, to stop humiliating myself. But I refused to move, rooted in place by my last stubborn thread of longing. Just as I was about to give up, my phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. It was a single blurry photo. Liam standing in a hospital hallway, his shirt sleeve rolled up, staring down at a patient wristband in his hand, with my full name